In America today, everyone is talking about or talking on Citizens Band Radio. Citizens Band Radio, or CB radio, is simply a two-way voice system that makes it possible for you to broadcast messages to other CB users. Owning a two-way radio is very much like having a party line telephone with you wherever you go, which enables you to talk from your car, home, office or boat to any other CB operator within a certain range. Although in Britain, CB is in its early stages, it has been used in America since it was created in 1958 by the Federal Communications Commission and now plays an integral role in America's vast communications network. For many years, mankind has searched for ways to communicate over relatively short distances, and now, through the miracle of electronics, it is possible for just about anyone using Citizens Band Radio to talk to friends, neighbours, or even strangers anywhere in a given area. This recording is intended to help you understand in more detail what CB is, how it works, and to make you fully aware of the uses and limitations of CB communications. Listen to the recording in full. It will help you understand the courtesies of the airways and the responsibilities of the CB operator, as well as helping you feel at ease behind a microphone. Learn the special CB language that's been developed over the years so that you can communicate more competently with the people to whom you are broadcasting. Citizens Band Radio, if properly used, will bring you many hours of enjoyment, companionship, and permit you to help others and to help yourself more effectively in an emergency. As you listen to the recording, you can translate the words and codes used by the announcer and in the live transmissions by referring to the cover of this cassette. Before long, you will be well on your way to learning the universal language of Citizens Band Radio. It is not essential to understand the technical side of CB radio in order to buy and operate one, but if you are serious enough to want to know more, this section will brief you in the fundamental basics of CB radio and help you when buying your CB rig to understand a little bit more of the different machines available and details given on specification sheets. There are basically two different types of CB radio, mobile units and base units. Mobile units are compact, operating usually on 12 volts DC, which can be supplied by your car battery, whereas base units are designed for use in the home or office and normally operate on mains voltage. The major difference between the two systems is that of the aerial or antenna. The base station, being usually in a fixed location, permits the use of a larger and more substantial antenna system, and therefore the distance of communication is usually greater. Whereas with mobile units, the antenna is restricted by the limitations of the vehicle it is on. Base units provide a line of contact between the motorist and his home or office, and also a means of communication with other base units. There are several basic components of the CB radio station. The radio is both the receiver and the transmitter built into the same chassis. This is called the transceiver. Connected to the transceiver is the microphone, which makes it possible for your voice to be carried through the system. Built into the microphone is the press to talk button, which is known as the key, and when the key is pressed, it automatically switches the transceiver from the receive mode to the transmit mode. It is only possible to transmit while this key is pressed. When the key is released, the transceiver switches back and can again begin to receive. The channel selector is usually in the form of a rotary switch with up to 40 different positions. This switch permits you to choose which channel you will receive or broadcast on, although there are two channels which are used for one particular type of broadcast only. They are channel 19, which is more often used for making initial contact or breaking a channel, and channel 9, used for emergency purposes only. All other channels, and most CB systems have at least 40, can be used for any other types of conversation. The squelch control, which is built into almost every type of CB radio, is used for filtering out noise and makes it possible to receive only the local transmissions. An ideal setting for this control would be just at the point where background noise disappears. However, if you want to hear the weaker stations, even with some bothersome noise, turn the squelch control off. Regardless of its setting, however, the squelch control will have no effect on your broadcasting. Most CB rigs have an RF meter, which indicates the relative strength of a received signal or the relative transmitter output. This meter is read to tell another operator how strong his signal is at your transceiver. The other important component in the CB system is the aerial or antenna. The quality of your antenna is of major importance because it carries the signal into the air, and you'll find the better the antenna system you use, the greater distance your broadcast will reach. Now, no matter how elaborate or expensive your transceiver, without a good quality antenna, your efforts are wasted. So, how does CB work? Well, basically what happens is this. When you press the key on the microphone, but do not talk, the transmitter sends out a high-frequency signal from the antenna. Now, this signal is known as the carrier signal, and it is made up of millions of radio waves, all the same height and shape. Now, the strength of the signal is known as the amplitude, and the exact number of radio waves forming in 1 second is known as the frequency. Most CB systems operate on a frequency of 27 megahertz, which means that about 27 million radio waves leave the CB antenna in 1 second. The carrier signal has a frequency which is much higher than those heard by the human ear. So when you press the key on the microphone, if any other CB user is tuned into the same channel, they will hear the clicking of the key being pressed but will not hear the carried signal itself. When you speak into the microphone, the voice waves are used in the transmitter to modulate the carrier signal, which means that they cause it to vary in its formation, and the strength of the signal is changed continuously to follow the same pattern as the voice waves. The waves which make up the modulated carrier leave the antenna at a rate of about 27 million per second and travel in a continuous chain which reaches the horizon. Receiving antenna within range, providing its receiver is tuned to the same channel as your transmitter. Because the signal picked up by the receiver is only a small part of the signal which left the transmitter, the first thing that happens in the receiver is that the weak signal is amplified to give it strength. Secondly, it goes through a process designed to lower the frequency because further amplification which is necessary cannot be done at transmitter frequencies. The signal is then demodulated, which means that the voice waves are extracted from the carrier and finally amplified enough to drive a loudspeaker. Basic CB radios normally have 40 straight AM channels spaced out fairly evenly between 26.965 MHz and 27.405 MHz, giving about 10,000 cycles space between each channel. More expensive CB rigs make use of this space in the following way. When the carrier signal is modulated by the voice waves, a lot of other frequencies appear very close to the carrier, some slightly higher and some slightly lower. These are called sidebands, and the voice signal is carried in these sideband frequencies. In the upper sideband, we have a complete voice signal which is duplicated by the lower sideband. Now, both sidebands, together or independently, can be used to extract voice from the signal. When operating with just one sideband or the other, the system is called single sideband, or SSB. Single sideband rigs are more expensive than straight 40 rigs, but by using the sideband frequencies, a greater number of channels are made available. The modulation process makes the signal stronger in the sidebands, and so sideband rigs are capable of obtaining greater distances of broadcast, and reception is also improved. It may be sounding a little difficult to understand at this stage, but don't worry. When you play this recording again tomorrow, you'll probably understand a little more. Besides the basics, you can always pick up useful tips from other CB users and vice versa. Or why not ask on the airways if you have a question? There will always be some good buddy out there who'll be delighted to help you. And you'll find that whatever district or area you live in, CBers will be meeting regularly for an eyeball and to discuss modulations and other topical subjects within the world of CB radio. Before you purchase any CB equipment, there is a consideration. Although almost all CBs have about the same power output of 4 watts, better quality sets will give less distortion and reception will be clearer, even through ignition and background noises. If you are new to CB radio, it will probably be advisable to start off with a straight 40 channel transceiver as opposed to a more expensive sideband rig. Single sideband systems generally require a greater understanding of radio communication in order to take full advantage of their capabilities. It's a case of being able to walk before you can run. But whatever type of transceiver you decide to buy, remember, although generally you get what you pay for, you will find that lower price sets have fewer features, such as automatic specification sheets. Remember that the manufacturers check their equipment on test benches, which are rather different than the tip circuitry. If you're going to install your equipment in your car, you'll have to consider where you will mount the transceiver. Now, although some sets are supplied with a slide bracket, so that when you leave the vehicle unattended you can take the set with you, the majority of mobile rigs come complete with a U-shaped bracket for under-dash mounting. If you are going to set up your CB station in your home or office, you will want to be looking at base stations, although there again, there are some good quality rigs available which can be used as either a base station or a mobile station. The antenna is probably the most important single component in your CB station. It is important that it matches your transceiver, because if it doesn't, it will cause a transmitted signal to encounter resistance or standing waves. Now, this will result in decreased efficiency and loss of available power. With the aid of the SWR meter, oh, and by the way, that stands for standing wave ratio, you can match the antenna to the transceiver, and the result will mean peak power and prevent damage being caused to the output section of the transceiver. The performance of the antenna depends a great deal on how and where it is mounted. Full-length quarter-wave whips can be up to 9 feet tall, so it would seem natural to mount them as low down as possible to avoid problems with height. But by doing that, you're liable to lose signal strength into the metal body of the car. The best possible place to mount the antenna is on the highest point of the vehicle, which in most cases is on the roof. Now, although this is not always convenient, it will produce the best results. Shorter antennae are available which use a coil of wire to make it electrically longer, but these are not as efficient and only radiate about 50% of the signal that a full-length quarter wave would radiate. Antennae also differ in their method of fixing. For instance, you can buy a magnetic type that fasten to the roof of your car, or detachable types which, like the magnetic, can easily be removed when leaving your car unattended. There are a couple of other things that we must mention at this stage. Firstly, remember, whatever type of rig you finally choose, and wherever you install it, it is valuable equipment and should be installed in such a way that it is very difficult to steal. Don't leave your set on a parcel shelf or passenger seat. Make it difficult for the thief by bolting it firmly to the underside of your dashboard, or remove it altogether when you leave your car. Some sets are supplied with theft-resistant mounting bolts. Secondly, when installing your CB station, whether it be a mobile or base station, do not switch on the transceiver without having the antenna propped to transmit mode, without having an antenna connected. You're liable to cause extensive damage to the transmitter section of your radio. Okay, so now you think you know all about CB radio, but hold on. This recording is designed to give you an introduction to the subject and to put you on the right road to the wonderful world of CB. There are many aspects of CB not covered by this tape, which you will enjoy finding out for yourself once you and your rig take to the airwaves. Okay now, good buddy, it's time to get yourself a handle and do some ratchet jawing. All CBers have a nickname or handle that they use when making broadcasts as a means of identification. Handles may be permanent, or you can call yourself whatever you feel like at the time. But remember, everyone's heard of Rubber Duck, so try and be original and creative. You can choose a handle that reflects your occupation or personality, or maybe your handle might describe the type or colour of car you drive. Choose your handle in good taste, and don't forget, although handles are fun, they also serve a useful purpose as a means of identification, and they are a lot easier to remember than numbers.